This is episode 5 of the Brozilla Podcast. In this episode, we will be covering the 1964 film Mothra vs. Godzilla. Hello everybody, welcome to the Brozilla Podcast. This is episode 5. And as you can see from our previous episode, we are now the most popular podcast on the internet. Joe Rogan actually wants to be on our podcast, not the other way around. But that's neither here or there. I got a very important question that I've been wanting to know for a while. And no, it's not why is Red King red. It's just it's just he's Red King. That's all there is to it. We have more important questions to talk about, such as, what the hell is Gigan? Let's start there. That's something I kind of feel like needs some discussion, because I don't know about you two, but I have, for the longest time, thought that a Gigan origin story has been in order. And we've gotten hints at it and ideas, and it's kind of, you can kind of piece it together, but we've never gotten anything confirmed.
Well, space chicken.
Oh, wait, that's it. That's it for the Brozilla Podcast.
One thing I find interesting about Gigan, is that his description is, and I quote, "space dinosaur," and I'm like, really? Dinosaur. Well, I know technically birds are dinosaurs, but what part of that screams, your traditional, dinosaur? And it's funny because he shares the same description with Zeton. Zeton is called space dinosaur also.
Why is Zeton called a space dinosaur?
I mean,
that is like the furthest description from, like, they got the space part right, I guess.
He's like a beetle, and it's like, the Japanese effects artists, they look at everything, like, they look at every kaiju like this. Red King, dinosaur. Gigan, dinosaur. Zeton, dinosaur. Mothra, she's technically moth, but dinosaur.
Flying dinosaur.
To the origin of Gigan, the closest thing we got to a true origin story was in the prequel books, where Gigan's original form was revealed. He gone to fight
Godzilla. Real quick. Imagine, you're talking about how they call everything dinosaur. Imagine, like, they described Gorosaurus, and instead of, the obvious, they're just like, oh, giant reptilian creature. I don't know, that came to mind. I had to get that out. Go ahead. What were you talking? You said something about. I'm sorry. I zoned out because I've been had that joke ready to go for like the past 10 seconds.
It's fair. In the anime prequel books, Gigan's origin was revealed. He was frozen in the Siberian Arctic, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And his original form was revealed. His head was very parrot-like. But his body was like, your traditional reptile. And he even had, get this, he originally had fingers.
Whoa.
I know, that sounds like sacrilege, but it's true.
But Gigan anyway, with fingers, just like those old Bandai figures or whatever, where they had like
bootleg ones.
Yeah, the boot.
Yeah,
I was about to bring those up. I remember seeing that growing up. I'm thinking like, whoa, is that Gigan? Is that what he was before he had the blades?
Yeah. I would be. Yeah, I was gonna say I would be lying if the Monster Island Buddies episode where you meet his family that came out within the last year, and then the finale came out a few months ago, where he fights his sister. Those were definitely kind of like further made me think, okay, what's going on with Gigan? Because to be honest, the best origin story I have is from Monster Island Buddies.
And that's another thing about the anime version of Gigan. He had 2 eyes, and looked almost exactly like Gigan's sister.
The anime version? Or are you talking about, like, was that the
anime version before it became a cyborg.
Was that part of the movies?
No, it was part of the books. He never got mentioned once in the movies.
No, okay. What anime, though?
The Netflix trilogy. Each Netflix trilogy film had a novel that acted as a prequel.
Well,
okay, that's what I was referring to.
Except for the third one, which was a flat-out adaptation. But we almost, for Godzilla Legends, we almost had an origin story for Gigan, where he was a protector of a planet, slowly got converted into a cyborg after losing a few battles, and eventually became evil.
I really like the idea of Gigan being a Godzilla-like creature of his planet until he gets killed by something, or gets killed by the aliens and turned into that monster, which would honestly, if you want to go a step further and make him intelligent, then which I mean, to be fair, the film show most of the monsters as being intelligent in a very human-like ways, but that could be the reason he would hate something like Godzilla.
Right.
And then you got your I don't know. This is like my fan fiction in my head. I'm not going to get too far into detail, but I've really been thinking about coming up with like a little. I'm not sure if I would write a script, but a good plot idea, plot concept, a good concept for a Gigan film, or it could be another Godzilla versus Gigan, but just have backstory in it, or it could be like a special of something where you find out Gigan's origin.
Right. With the Legends thing, it was pitched to Toho, but they rejected it because they didn't feel comfortable, telling such an... Like, they didn't really like the take on his origin from what I recalled. Like, if the, Protector slowly turning into a villain. I think it would have been a cool angle, but I'm not sure what Toho really wanted, so...
Yeah, the prequel novel version of Gigan is very similar to Nebula from the Marvel movies. It's really tragic. Every time he was sent into the battle with Godzilla, he would be brutally injured, and then Billo Saludo would just slap some new parts on him and send him back into battle, and it was brutal.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, if we get Gigan in the Monsterverse films, we either need Godzilla Tower, or we need Godzilla talking. If it's a package deal, if Gigan's in it, one of those things has to happen.
I mean, it didn't with Megalon or Final Wars, so
could just have stock footage. That could be part of it. Could you imagine, in the middle of the Monsterverse film, and you just have stock footage from the original Godzilla vs. Gigan, where you're destroying the city?
It's like Godzilla's not even talking to Anguirus, but Anguirus in the shot, he's trying to talk to Mothra or something.
I would love it if they reused the audio. Hey, Anguirus.
No, but they dub it over with hey, Mothra, there's something funny going on, you should check.
Okay.
And then you just show a stock footage from Mothra, she's just a painting in the background, like in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves talking about, Gigan and,
Gigan will be in the next Monsterverse film. I guarantee it. You can put this on my gravestone.
Either Gigan or Biollante. Those are Gigan, Biollante, or Anguirus. Those are my three main bets.
Gigan will be in the next Monsterverse film. I guarantee it. You can put it on my...
If Christian's right, we will do something special for this channel, alright? We'll have a seance to some of the ghosts of Yoshimitsu Banno, alright? We'll have it, full uncut, and I'll guarantee Banno will be here. Well, not physically, but spiritually, but you know what I mean. So, shall we get on to the news, fellas?
I think so. So, speaking of news-wise, Mezco just revealed today their brand new Destroy All Monsters based line for their 4.5 to 5 inch figures. And they're boasting that they are the 5-point articulation XL. I'm not sure what the XL means in the name, because, these are smaller than our typical 6-inch figures, but right. They are going to be split up into 2 releases. The first bundle is going to have Godzilla, Rodan, the Mothra larva from the film, and Anguirus. Godzilla, Rodan, and Anguirus all have interchangeable heads, and then Mothra comes with a silk effect, and that will be $85. And then the second pack is going to have Gorosaurus, King Ghidorah, Baragon, and Manila. King Ghidorah comes with some gravity beams. Baragon's got extra heads, or an extra head, extra hands, and extra feet. And then Manila comes with the smoke ring, an extra head, and 2 extra arms. And that 4-pack is also going to be $85.
I'm not gonna lie, I really like what I'm seeing. But I'm gonna be honest, Baron got gypped here.
Yeah, I don't know where... Where is he? Where is Varen? And, I mean, even Kumonga. Where's Kumonga?
If you look closely in the background, you might see him. Oh, wait, what? I see... No, wait, that's just Rio Tower. Never mind. Yeah, it's kind of weird not having Kumonga in, because, he was in the final battle. But I really like the set, and I really hope they do, more multi-monster sets like this. Maybe one focused around the Heisei era, maybe one about Monsterverse, maybe one about around Final Wars. I feel like this has a lot of potential, and I really like the quality of the sculpts. They look really detailed.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Honestly, yeah, if they did these in releases of... This set is based off of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, and it has Godzilla, Space Godzilla, Little Godzilla, and Mogira. 4-pack, $85. Boom, I'm sold. Because, they're about $20 a figure, but, they're coming in these 4-packs. But, yeah, I'm definitely liking everything I've seen so far, too. Yeah, the sculpts look amazing, especially for being on the smaller side. I'm just hoping that... we don't see a repeat of what happened with Pulgasari, because Mezco recently released some 8-inch Pulgasari figures, and the shipping... I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast or not before, but the shipping was just disastrous. They were arriving with broken horns, and everything.
Christian got dropped.
Alright, so we just had a brief technical error, but we're going to get right back into it. So, y'all have anything y'all want to discuss before we get into the main topic of the video?
I would like to quickly point out, since none of you guys have any real... I don't want to sound rude or anything, but you haven't got any real involvement with the more recent Ultraman series or Tiga, but Ultraman Trigger has been announced, finally, and it will be premiering July 10th, and personally I'm liking what I've seen so far. The designs look cool, and looks like it's going to be a love letter to the Heisei era, which I don't have much experience with, truth be told, but I feel like this is going to be a real fun time, Then again, it's Ultraman, when isn't it fun?
Yeah, I definitely love Ultraman, and I've seen the post. I've not seen Tiga personally, but I have been really enjoying the newer Ultraman series, and I'm interested to see how we are going to get this one overseas. I don't know if they're going to continue doing releasing it for free on YouTube like they did with Ultraman Z, or if they're going to go back and partner up with another company for simulcasting like Crunchyroll or Funimation or Toku or Tubi or whoever. But I've not seen any details on that yet.
I feel like given the success with Z in the West, how many views it's been getting, I feel like they might do the simulcast on YouTube again.
Now, have either of you watched any of those episodes actually on YouTube?
Z? Yeah.
No.
I watched the whole season throughout its initial run.
Did you get any ads on it?
Nope.
Really? Okay. Now, I didn't get ads, but that's because I pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't get ads on anything.
I use AdBlock.
Oh, well, there we go. I was just wondering, how are they making money off of it through YouTube? But I'm certain there's some sort of profit gained.
Right.
You're just in it for the clout.
Or
they see the likes and they're like, oh, let's make more.
Yeah.
Imagine. Yeah. I don't have anything to say on this topic. I have not seen a trailer, and I don't follow Ultraman in modern times.
And I could be wrong, but I think this is in celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Heisei period of Ultraman.
It is. It's also I believe, like the 40th anniversary of Jack, and the 15th or 20th anniversary. No, 15th anniversary of Mebius.
Oh wow!
Yep.
Yeah, that's some big anniversaries right there.
I know.
And
It's
then, let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything on the official announcement page as far as a U.S. release.
We'll probably get more information as time comes. So
Yeah.
But you won't have to wait for the U.S. release if you have NordVPN. Just
Well, I guess real briefly on the topic of kaiju shows, the sequel to Gridman just started airing. The SSSS Dynazenon is what I'm going to say it is.
I haven't seen the original run for Triple S Gridman yet, but I've heard good things, so I need to check it out.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the anime adaptation. I've only seen the first episode, and then I've seen a little bit of the original actual Toku show. And I mean the original. I'm not talking about Super Samurai Squad or whatever they called it when they Power Rangered it.
Yeah, I don't know much about Goodman, but I do remember hearing that it was pretty good, and I was interested in it, but I forgot about it, and then I actually, interestingly enough, I was watching. I don't know if y'all know, but like the Monster Island Buddies, he also does like these other videos where he just like buys random stuff and does stuff like that. And one of them, he just mentioned that he really likes that, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was a show that exists. Yeah. So I think I texted you, Will, the other day about it to see if you'd seen it. I did not.
Yeah, you did, and now that you said that, and I'm kind of on my. I've kind of slowly gotten back into watching anime again, so I actually owned Gridman, so I do think I'm going to give that a good binge. I might even do that tonight. And then, whenever I do end up watching it, I'll bring it up on the podcast and mention my thoughts on it.
Alright, and with that being said, I think it's about time we talk about the fourth entry into Godzilla, the Toho's Godzilla movies. It's the fourth Godzilla movie. Jeez, I'm having trouble speaking today. Listen, there was a movie called Mothra. I don't know if there's a subtitle. I know there was a Mothra movie, and there was obviously 3 Godzilla movies up to this point. So Toho, after seeing the success of King Kong vs. Godzilla, decided, okay, well, versus movies obviously work. Godzilla's got a little bit of clout on his name. Let's take our next most popular monster, Mothra, and we're going to make them fight. And Mothra vs. Godzilla came, otherwise known as Godzilla vs. The Thing.
It's clobbering time.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Wrong thing.
Talking about the 1980s thing. Or no, what is it? John Carpenter's The Thing.
That would actually be legit awesome fight. I'm not gonna lie.
Imagine Godzilla like sees dead Anguirus and he reaches over to him and his stomach opens up and bites Godzilla's arm off.
I mean, he'd probably grow his arms back, but...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he has his arms bit off, and then he loses the first fight, and then he goes back to regenerate and comes back. I don't know.
Wouldn't that's how I would infected, though?
I don't know how that works. So I haven't watched the thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a very bad movie watcher, and by that I mean all the movies that I know are good that everyone talks about. A good half of those I have not seen, and honestly, that's being generous saying I haven't. Like I've seen half of them. But either way, talking about good movies that I have watched. Mothra vs. Godzilla. Clearly one of the stronger entries in the series. And arguably, I say arguably, we'll see how I think about this after we get through the rest of them. Arguably the strongest Showa Godzilla film besides the original. Now, I actually do have a few interesting takes. So this movie was pretty nostalgic to me. This was in my local video store, so I used to watch this movie all the time. When I was rewatching it for this podcast, I actually got like some chills watching like the opening credits where the
opening is so nostalgic.
Yeah, and then Godzilla's introduction, definitely the greatest Godzilla introduction in any film that I can think of. He just comes out of the ground because he was just, how did he get there? Who knows? He was just.
I think Godzilla. That here's my theory. Is it around the same area where he got caught in that landslide of Kong?
I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe. I mean,
I feel like maybe the debris in Godzilla got drifted near that landfill area, and he was buried by all the sediment. That's my best guess, at least.
Yeah.
The way I always saw it as a kid is that he was resting it there, and then when they pumped all that water out after all the storms, I think as a kid I always put that together as, oh, all the water's gone and Godzilla's there. Now that I think about it as an adult, it doesn't really line up that well, but as a kid, that would have been my theory as a child.
Yeah,
I think Godzilla realized he had lost his last fight, so now he's 1-on-1. So even though he has he's not necessarily in a losing streak, he has to make sure he gets a good introduction, so he'll still get good audience reception. But then he goes and loses this fight anyway. So I mean, he's on the way to becoming the jobber in his own series. So hopefully he'll make amends next time. But Godzilla again plays the heel, if we're gonna keep going with the pro wrestling terms.
Yeah.
As Mothra is clearly the good guy, or girl. Good gal. Yeah, good girl. Monster waifu Mothra is the I start rattling off these jokes and then I forget the plot of the film. We actually did have a couple interesting human characters here. I remember, I believe they were reporters, with the main character and then his assistant, which I found them pretty amusing. And then they end up finding the twin Mothra fairies, who basically tell them, hey, y'all need to give that egg back. Because the opening of the film, they find an egg's washed up on shore. I don't know if y'all watch it dubbed or subbed, but this was probably my first time watching it subbed. And I love the detail that the guy just said, hey, this is about 153,000 eggs. So that's how much we basically just charged them how much an egg costs times 153,000. And that's how much they sold, the people who own that beach sold the egg to the company.
Yeah.
It was such a weird figure. So they sell the egg, and then the twin fairies are like, hey, that's Mothra's egg, Mothra's gonna be pissed. And then they're like, okay. But then Godzilla's attacking, so they're like, okay, well, Mothra's gonna help, but also, need to give that egg back. And then, so here's where I'm gonna be a little bit controversial, because this kind of hurts to say. I did not find the fight to be that good. I don't want to say it was a bad fight. It was not as enjoyable as I remembered. And I think that the fight in King Kong versus Godzilla was a more memorable and entertaining fight.
I'm gonna say I'm in the same boat as you. It's not as exciting, but what really draws the film, what really captivates me about the film is the human drama, where it really excels this time around.
Oh yes, let me be clear. Everything else about the film, I would say, is superior to every film besides the 1954 one that we've covered so far. However, it's just like the actual like kaiju in this film were like I don't know why they did this, and this is a question, something that's, as a kid it was kind of funny, and it is still it's funny, but like it kind of almost was a disservice to the film for me, where there's just the weird scenes where Godzilla trips over himself and he gets his tail stuck, and he's like screeching because he got his tail stuck, and it's like this, it's like to go back to pro wrestling, it's like you have your big bad heel, and then he trips and falls on his face, and then you're like, we're still supposed to be scared that he's going to beat up John Cena, but he clearly can't even walk to the ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just kind of like there was a few weird scenes in there that it's like, okay, clearly y'all guys just threw it in here because you had extra B-roll. And with how great the rest of the film is, it's just like really distracting.
It's like, I feel like it's trying to portray Godzilla's more natural way, weird way of saying it, like, he's not going to be like a perfect, killing machine. He's just, a creature, and he's going to, get himself, injured sometimes, trip, like, around the terrain and whatnot.
I just think it was the wrong film to have that portrayed in. I think in this film,
to be fair,
you need to... In this film, this is the type of film where we needed Godzilla to be... Godzilla should have been presented... Now, obviously, again, I'm not talking about special effects or anything. I'm just talking about writing-wise. Like, if you omitted some of those films, it would have been very similar to how Godzilla's the role he played in the beginning half of Godzilla vs. Kong. He's just like he's bullying everyone, and he's doing But instead, you have him kind of do some of this stuff, and it's like, again, it didn't take away. It's not like, oh, the film sucks now. It was just like weird scene to include, and there was also some weird parts in the monster fight where like they were speeding it up like 2 times speed, and it was clearly like it was just some weird choices they went with in the suitmation here.
It's not as jarring as Godzilla Raids Again, but it's noticeable. I feel like they're trying to get this sense that Mothra's trying to beat her wings fast as she can. Like, I feel like it was done on purpose this time around, just to give her a sense like she's struggling to even lift him up.
Yeah. I get it. It was. Let's just, and again, we're talking about a movie from 1964,
right?
But I would say so far the effects in the 1954 film and the previous King Kong vs. Godzilla film overall were stronger. And the reason I'm pointing these out, and the reason these are so obvious to me, let me be clear, is because this film, besides what I'm talking about, is pretty close to. Definitely one of the best Godzilla films, and it's just kind of like, a strong script with strong human characters and a strong message of corporate greed, a good important theme, but also it's just like it's because of that and because of how much everybody loves this film. I myself am gonna have to play the heel here and be like, hey guys, this film isn't perfect. Well, remember when Godzilla got his tail stuck in the tower and screeched for 2 minutes? I mean, I don't know. It's just, I'm not saying it's like this condemns this film to being bad.
Right.
No, it's just like, okay, this stops it from being a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, in my opinion.
Well,
There's
get
a few
that.
drawbacks.
Like, even my favorite film of all time, Jurassic Park, has huge noticeable flaws despite everything else being very tight. It's like, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a perfect movie. There are damn good movies, but...
Jaws.
Do you want me to go there?
I know.
Do you want me to go there?
I mean, if you want to, I mean, I think you'll lose in this one. Jaws is a pretty masterful film. But either way, that's not what I'm talking about. And I'm sure, yes, there are flaws, and I'm sure there are flaws in Jaws. But I will say that Jaws, it would take me a while to figure them out.
Yeah.
Which Jurassic Park is a pretty near perfect film too, I would say so.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, these are just things that, like, effects wise took away from the theme of the movie, or didn't take away, they were distracting. And then when the film got back to what it was supposed to, or like, okay, here's a gripe I have, and this is something I'm gonna repeat, because let me be straight. This is a Godzilla podcast or a kaiju podcast, so again, this is something that kind of comes with the territory, especially of like this 60s Showa era of kaiju films. But for the love of God, can we stop showing? And now, and Godzilla rides again. It was the plane flies by, Godzilla screeches, the plane flies by and shoots more missiles, Godzilla screeches, like 10 minutes straight of that, and you're like, what's going on here? Why? We only needed like 1 or 2 shots of this before we understood what was going on, and you can move on. With this film, it was Mothra dragging Godzilla around, which wasn't that bad, but then the real killer was the last 5 minutes of this film are dedicated to Mothra larva poking her head out of the lock, spraying web, Godzilla going, ah! And then getting more web on him, and then it would cut back to Mothra shooting it, and then Godzilla would have more webs on him, and then 5 minutes later, okay, Godzilla's covered in webs, but listen, I get that we wanted this, and I understand the logic behind that. That's probably how fast it would have happened if we were there watching it. That doesn't mean that that's how you need to present it in film. Come on, guys, we only needed a couple shots of that, and then Godzilla being webbed up.
I'm gonna say this is probably Godzilla's most embarrassing loss. He got defeated by 2 newborns.
Yeah, Godzilla. Like I said, Godzilla is not faring very well in his movies so far at this point. And I would be like, oh, hopefully it turns up for him. But the next few films, he's only going to win because he teams up with other monsters. So does that even count? Man, this.
Yeah, and he only wins by making the other monster retreat. He doesn't even actually defeat the monster.
Yeah. I guarantee you Showa Godzilla, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Showa Godzilla is definitely in a losing streak. Not quite living up to what you would imagine the King of the Monsters. But he will rectify that in the Heisei and Millennium films for sure. But that'll be a minute till we get there.
But,
yeah, I'll say that.
But,
in the Monsterverse, he actually holds the role of Alpha, to where it's whether he won a lot or not, he's clearly the strongest out of the monsters that are present.
Right.
And he clearly asserts that, which I guess is kind of what happens with Destroy All Monsters and such like that in these films, where all the monsters respect him. But it's kind of man, if they had seen Mothra versus Godzilla, they might be willing to oh, if we can just It's honestly, it's kind of appalling if you think about it, how Godzilla didn't just walk up to one of them and shoot fire. I get the point was they were hiding in the rocks, but I don't know. Either way, I just wanted to point out those were some problems I had with the film. I don't know if y'all have any problems you had with the film, but I wanted to get that out of the way, because if we just talk about all plays, I want to. My point is, I want to be clear. I'm going to play the heel here for all these, and whether these films are good or not, I'm going to point out that, hey, Godzilla films, no film in general, but certainly Godzilla films are not perfect films. And I think that acknowledging that will also help us better, understand when we get new films and we're let's pick apart Godzilla King of the Monsters, or let's look at Shin Godzilla. We can kind of look back and be like, hey, not all the old Godzilla films were masterpieces either. Even some of the better ones had some noticeable flaws. Now, what I'd say is, for this film, lighting-wise, there's not really anything I can think of. It's mainly just some of these weird special effects decisions that were not, because it's not. I'm not saying the special effects look bad. I'm saying they did some. It's editing, is what I'll say. They did some weird editing, and they included some shots that just didn't really need to be there.
Right.
Which, for rewatching, it's basically when these type of things in a movie like Godzilla vs. Megalon, I'm not going to nitpick because these things make it funnier. But when it's funny and you're watching this movie where the story actually has, it's I don't know if they purposely meant it to be funny, but I think it takes away a little bit from what they're trying to say with their message. I think this film should have been kept a little more serious. Either way, that's my rant. Mothra vs. Godzilla, worst film so far.
So one thing I really want to point out is I believe this movie has the best human villains, hands down.
The fight where they fight each other is that's actually burned into my memory too. I remember as a kid watching that all the time, where they're beating the one guy, the fat guy beats the crap out of the other guy, and then he goes to get all the money. Then the other guy wakes up and he looks up and he sees Godzilla and he's like, oh, and then he just pulls out the gun and shoots him in the back of the head. And so I don't know. Did y'all see the shot where the guy he gets shot in the head and he looks up in the air and he like moves for a second, like he sells it like a pro wrestling move, and he like blinks a couple times, then he falls over dead.
Yeah. But the thing I want to point out with that scene is like it's such a sharp contrast between what happened last one with King Kong vs. Godzilla. Mr. Taco, who was the quote unquote antagonist of that film, he didn't really
scot-free.
Not only that, but he did feel some regret, and he did, he wasn't pure evil. He just, but these guys, like, they were willing to kill each other, and the fact that they drew blood with each other from each other like that, it's a much darker turn, like, compared to what happened in the last film.
So here's one thing I remember hearing somewhere. I can't name where I heard this from. But a lot of the early Godzilla films, and honestly Godzilla films in general, you can kind of notice, there's a track record of if someone survives a Godzilla attack, they'll be found eventually, like almost like Final Destination type of, as weird as that sounds, because I'm not trying to relate Godzilla to Final Destination that way, but it's kind of like a curse. And it was kind of like, it was in the first film, it's definitely prevalent, where like the people who see Godzilla early on, like like the sailors and stuff, they all end up dying. Or this is the people who
I get it.
Or like here's a good example in GMK.
Oh my god,
the one lady gets hurt in a Godzilla in an attack, and then later Godzilla comes to
the hospital
kill her in, building. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm relating that specifically, but also in this film, it's kind of like it's like Godzilla's like the messenger of greed. Like these people are like. Obviously, like that's tied into the theme of this film. But I do like that. Like they're fighting over their own greed, and they wake up, and it's Godzilla straight up. Now, obviously, he's clearly not in film coming for them specifically,
right?
But it's almost like he's like their messenger, their angel of death. Like you deserve this,
right? And with these human characters, they were perfectly despicable, in my opinion. Like. That the chubby one blowing the cigarette smoke in the girl's camera when she suggested this will be, giving negative signs will be much more beneficial and whatnot. Him trying to capture the fairies and put them on display, and just even the fact they're putting the egg on display instead of trying to put in a safe place because God knows what's going to hatch for this. For all they know, it could be another Rodan.
No, the continuity doesn't exist in the Showa series, guys. So don't bring that up.
It's like, for all they know, it could be something just as dangerous as Godzilla. But they don't care as long as they make a profit, which I feel like has a lot in common with modern industries. But not to such a severe degree. It's like a pastiche of it.
Random thing that came to my head. Before I forget, I remember this as a kid, and that seeing this shot made me laugh. It was pretty funny. There's some of the humor in this film that got me. Like the character humor was funny. Again, I thought the fighting was funny. And I said, I know that's kind of contradictory to where I was saying. Well, I think the monsters being too comedic in a film like this was a little weird, but I do think the human. The humor was funny, and one of the good ones was early on. They're talking about they're like, hey, they saw a giant egg or something like that, and the guy is sitting there and he just took a bite of his egg and he looks down at it, and it just cuts to the next shot. I found that really funny for some reason, and I remember that as a little kid finding that funny then.
One gag I find funny that's recurring was when they keep saying, "Oh, this egg is worth like 150,000 chicken eggs," I'm like, where did you get that number from? Did you weigh the egg itself? Did you measure its dimensions?
Yeah, this is the official numbers they use to price the egg, so they better have gotten some hard evidence on it. He just I remember the line is that he straight up says I charge them this much, or they said, how much did you pay or buy it for? And they're like, this much, and they're like, well, that's a weird number. And he's like, well, I just figured it'd be about 153,000 chicken eggs, so that is, and that each egg could cost 89 cents or whatever, blah blah blah. So it's like, what? Okay. I think that's supposed to be kind of satire. I don't know. Okay. Obviously this whole film's kind of satire about. It has a lot in common with the themes of King Kong versus Godzilla, but taken in a different way, I suppose.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. and it's a big question, right? Is the Skeleturtle alive?
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about. I thought when I first saw that, when I went to that scene, I thought it was a living creature. I'm like, why aren't y'all running? And then I looked at it, and I'm like, it's supposed to be a dead turtle? That's just a weird little inclusion. That's Gamera. Gamera's origin.
But
he moves, though, right?
Does he? Yeah, I'm
pretty sure his head wobbles a little bit.
Okay, though it's based off the dead turtles that were on the Bikini Isles that were died due to radiation tests, and they say their skulls were moved against the wind.
Is that real? Is that
yes, it is, and it's very disturbing.
That's a cool reference.
But the thing is, like in the movie itself, I think it's dead. Like some people say, they think, "Oh, I saw it blink," but I think it's just the inside of the skull, you know. But
this is like creepy pasta material right here.
But
remember in Mothra vs. Godzilla, and here's the dead turtle. Well, it's in my house now. I don't know. I'm sorry.
But the only time I would consider this thing ever being live was in a brief panel in the IDW comics where it's seen running away from Batra.
Oh yeah, he does show up in Rulers of Earth.
Well, it's like
that's weird.
Okay, but that's just the IDW canon. There's a lot of contradicting info like overall about this entity. So my question to you is: do you personally believe that Skeleturtle is alive? Yes or no?
I would say yes, and the reason I would say that is because growing up, I always saw his faint movement as this is a creature on its last legs of life. You know, the radiation's gotten to it. I always considered Skeleturtle maybe the only thing on the island that is still alive besides the natives and Mothra herself.
God, now you got me depressed. What about you, Chris?
That's the way I saw it. I always thought he was a dying creature.
So, if I'm honest, I didn't think he was alive. But it's kind of like Bigfoot. Like, I want him to be alive.
I want to believe.
So, yeah, I want to believe. So, yeah. That's got to be, like, on, like, one of those, like, top 15, like, videos. Like urban legends in horror or in movies or whatever. I don't know. I'm just like that's a really freaky thing that I didn't even think about because I do remember seeing it kind of move and then like thinking I imagined it because I was like, oh, well, like, it's a skeleton. It's dead.
To me,
I don't think he makes any noise though.
He doesn't.
I don't think so.
To me, he's alive in my heart. Damn it. I just thought that'd be a little fun little side topic we could talk about.
Number 15, Mothra vs. Godzilla Skeleton Turtle. The last thing you'd want on Infant Island is a skeleton turtle. But unfortunately, that's what you get. That should have been the April Fool's video.
No, it's just like the whole video for our next podcast is just a picture of the skeleton turtle, like for the April Fool's one. It's just a picture of him with the X-Files themes playing on ear rape of it.
Speaking of, don't let me forget. I'm definitely putting that in the thumbnail.
I was just thinking that same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna love this.
Are you guys ready for a podcast first here from me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I am going to recommend the English dub over the Japanese version.
Really?
And the reason I say that is because they cut out one of my favorite scenes in the Japanese version, and it's only in the American version, and it's when the American cruisers are shooting all of those missiles at Godzilla. I remember loving that as a kid, and it was nowhere in the Japanese version.
I never noticed that.
I remember. Now that you say that, I remember rewatching it and waiting for that scene, and then I just now remembered it never showed up.
Because I watched the Japanese version for the first time today, and I was waiting for it, and I was like, "Come on, I want to see the Criterion, remastered HD, version of that scene because it's a cool scene." And then the movie ended. I was like, "What the hell?"
So I have a funny story about that because I remember when I was little. So I grew up. I lived with my brother and his family, and my brother was 20 years older than me. So like my nephew is 2 years younger than me. So like, that just gives you an idea. Basically, my nephews and nieces were like my brothers. But either way, he would always like say, because he would always try to like get me mad because he would say Godzilla's a girl. I remember, and his evidence was the 1998 Godzilla movie where he lays eggs, which I was like, that's not a real Godzilla movie. But he's like, well, it says Godzilla, blah blah blah. And again, he's an adult and he's just making fun of me. And I had no, as a little kid, you don't really, even if you're right in the argument, you don't have the right the right words to put it. But I remember one of the things he was saying is like the American military would beat, that he was also using that movie as evidence that the American military would beat Godzilla, and it was just the Japanese military couldn't. But I remember specifically like that scene in Mothra versus Godzilla where the American military tries and fails, and that was my evidence for why it went. I don't know. That's just funny. So that's why I remember that scene so well. And the fact, now that you bring it up, that it wasn't in the Japanese cut, so that was like an English edition. Which, to be fair, compared to most of the English versions so far, that's the least changing they've done.
Right.
Yeah, I think the only thing I noticed in the Japanese version that was different, aside from the exclusion of that scene, is there's one quick scene to where, at least I don't remember the scene being in the dub, to where the public is kind of rioting against Happy Enterprises, and it was something like loss of faith in mankind, Happy Enterprises dooming the world. The public cries for Happy Enterprises to change their mind, or something like that. But outside of that, I can't remember. Oh, well, did either of you watch the English version for the rewatch?
No, I did the Japanese version.
Yeah, this was my first time watching the Japanese version, actually.
I don't remember the Islanders on Infant Island looking so much like Oompa Loompas. Like, these dudes were orange. And maybe they were in the original version, but I don't... Something about that stood out this time. I was like, whoa!
I don't remember... I can't remember that. One thing I...
And it was only like 15 of them. It's not like the entire island was orange. It was a handful of them that were orange.
Listen, do you know what happens when you get radiated? You turn orange. This has been documented.
Oh, so that explains...
Read the documents.
That explains a lot about Donald Trump.
But why isn't Skeleturtle orange then? Checkmate.
He didn't have enough spray paint.
Listen, that's exception to rule number 7. You need to read the documents more thoroughly. Speaking of, would Happy Enterprises, if they found that skeleton turtle, would they display him?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Is that what... That's the real reason Faith Against Humanity was lost, because they started displaying this turtle, and they're like, man, I don't know if that turtle's alive or not, but that's kind of creepy, man. You got some weird business ventures.
So, I want to point out a couple of things. So, did either of you know that the original Mothra was a bigger success than the original Godzilla?
I did not know that, no.
Oh yeah, Mothra smashed Godzilla's box office back then.
I mean, I know she beat Godzilla to color. She predated Godzilla's color debut by 2 years.
Right.
And then Rodan had both of them beat, because the first
Rodan is actually
Rodan was 1956.
Rodan is factually the best monster because he was the first one to have color.
Correct.
Yeah, that's non-negotiable. Rodan is the best monster, objectively.
So
factually.
So
in fact, he was so nice that they made him twice because there was two in the movie.
There were 3 of them.
So could you imagine the shock, like considering Mothra was popular back then, that Godzilla ended up killing her?
Yeah, because she didn't die in her debut film.
Right. And it's like...
The only Mothra movie where Mothra doesn't die. Well, yeah, honestly, that's kind of funny. Mothra dies in every freaking movie in some variation. I'm not saying
the only other movie that
sure,
she doesn't die in, not counting the larval forms, because that's only half Mothra, is the other Godzilla vs. Mothra film. She doesn't die at the end of that one.
Or Final Wars.
But Batra does. She dies in Final Wars.
No.
She explodes after she kills...
Oh, there's a post...
Gigan.
During the credits, you see her fly back to Infant Island.
Oh, yeah, you do. I completely forgot about that.
That
Because I remember seeing that for the first time when I rewatched it with my dad a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
that's in Final Wars.
Yep. During the credits.
Yeah.
Listen, you don't need to stop giving me fake news. Come on now.
No,
I think I had
haven't
seen that before, and I had always assumed, oh, okay, they just reversed the footage of Mothra flying. But then I played it back, I was like, no, wait a minute, that's a new footage.
How did
she didn't die?
How did she survive that, though?
Well, and I'm pretty sure she had... I mean, it's not entirely, super accurate, because I'm pretty sure she has all of her wings and appendages accounted for in that scene.
Mothra died in Final Wars. I think that's just like the reincarnation process that Mothra goes through. That's my guess.
That's pretty damn fast reincarnation process.
Well, I mean, you know what?
She
had stuff to do. She had groceries to buy.
She went from egg to larva to cocoon to moth to dead very quickly in King of the Monsters.
Another thing I would like to point out, did you notice that moth...
5-hour lifespan?
Did you notice...
The lifespan of a real moth.
Did you notice that Mothra was bigger in her debut film than she was in Mothra vs. Godzilla?
Yes, I did know that. But she is still massive in this film compared to Godzilla.
Right, but she was...
It's time to further tank my credibility. I have not seen the original Mothra yet.
Sean.
It wasn't available for a while, honestly. I didn't get to see it until a couple of years ago.
I need to go buy that steelbook from Walmart. The steelbooks at Walmart.
Growing up, the only way you could really get it was in that collection with the H-Man, Mothra, and I think it came with another film. It was the Toho collection on Amazon. Let me see if I can figure out what that other film was.
I got my copy Mothra on a 4-pack with 20 Million Miles to Earth. It came from Beneath the Sea and the Giant Claw.
Oh, here we go. The Icons of Sci-Fi Toho Collection, H-Man... Oh, H-Man, Battle in Outer Space, and Mothra. That was the only way you could get it growing up. At least from my personal experience. And then the Mill Creek released that beautiful steelbook that I love to death.
And I don't think Godzilla's gotten steelbook yet.
The only steelbooks Godzilla has gotten is... There is the FYE exclusive King Kong vs. Godzilla steelbook, and then all three of the Monsterverse films have steelbooks. But outside of those four, there's no other steelbooks for the old lizard himself.
Want like a GMK steelbook?
Oh my gosh, yes, please.
Don't tease me like that.
And then it just has like an extra disc that's just a compilation of footage of Leota roaring in the bear gun costume. I need to see that B-roll. There's those pictures that are leaked of just her like looking down at the suit, and it's just really funny. I found out she actually played as a character in one of those like Super Sentai shows before that.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, so now I have to double check to verify that, but I think it was on one of the Wikizilla videos. They said
okay.
That was her first role, and then she played Baragon, and that's basically all she did.
Oh, she played Gauss.
But she... No, a different girl played Gauss. She was the first to play a first woman to play a kaiju in Toho films, but the other girl who played Gauss in Gamera Guardian of the Universe was the first to play a kaiju in general. And then I don't think anyone else has since, basically, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe something happened in Ultraman. But I don't think a lot of Suitmation's really going on right now besides the Ultra series.
Honestly, a lot of the female-shaped monsters and humanoid aliens are usually portrayed by male suit actors with padding. Sorry to burst your fantasy and bubble.
Yeah, so to be fair, like, it's not that they can't, but Suitmation is a fairly physical job even now. And I remember seeing, like, I actually saw in that same Wikizilla video, they had to have her train up her like leg strength to be able to walk in the suit, crawl in the suit, because she had specific directions not to let Baragon's knees touch the ground when she crawled.
So she
had to actually like train her legs up, which Honestly, I would like to see behind the scenes on that. Like that's they have like the Hollywood transformations or whatever. No, I want to see how she trained her legs up to be able to carry. And so she had extenders on the hands. So when she was walking, so I remember I gotta find that footage. There's basically look up the Wikizilla video of the Baragon kaiju profile, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Either way, we're off the topic of Mothra versus Godzilla. Let's go ahead. Unless y'all have any final thoughts, I'm gonna go ahead and give this film a very, very regretful, because I thought it was gonna be higher in my opinion, but a regretful. Give it an 8.5 out of 10. That's what I'll call it. It's still a great film.
Let's see here. So, a little bit of trivia. This is 1964. We got Mothra vs. Godzilla, and then we also got Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster in the same year. We would not see two Godzilla films released in the same year again until 2018 with Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle and Godzilla the Planet Eater.
Yeah.
That's the only two times it's happened.
That's interesting. That's interesting trivia.
And then I'm just stealing this from Wikizilla real fast, because I did not know this, but the jaw wobble that the Godzilla suit has, like how his top lips are all kind of wobbly throughout the movie.
Yeah.
That was not an intentional effect. When Haru Nakajima slips and falls into Osaka Castle, which they kept in the film, but he actually did slip, he actually broke the suit. Ooh. And they just decided to keep it.
It looks cool. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. And then the scene where he catches on fire?
Yeah, that was. I remember that was an actual accident, and then
that happens a lot in these movies, but that's why the head is different in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. The fire affected the suit that much that the head had to be reconstructed.
Oh, is that the same suit?
Yeah, it's the same suit. The head is just modified.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. Now that you say that, it makes sense, because actually in that same, I was talking about that Baragon video, they talked about how the original Baragon suit, they had to change his head again because they had used it so many times for Ultraman that when he showed up in Destroy All Monsters, there was a resculpted head, which they didn't even use him in Destroy All Monsters really anyway, besides one scene. But either way, yeah, that's interesting trivia. I did not know. I didn't even think that they used the same suit, but now that you mention it, the fact that they're in the same year makes sense. Do y'all have any final thoughts or a rating on the film or anything y'all want to say?
I say it's up there with my top 10 Godzilla movies easily. Among the best in the series, no doubt.
It's definitely my top 40 Godzilla movies, somewhere in there.
There's not even 40 films.
Yeah,
you could say there's over 40 if you count the different Americanized versions.
Actually, they'll bring it up to 36.
He's got the numbers crunched.
I'll say I love this film. This was the second Godzilla film I ever saw. And honestly, this is easily top 5 for me. I love it. The only thing I will say is, and this is speaking, from the future, but stop using the puppets, please.
Yes!
I can't be the only person who thinks that, but the puppets look so much worse than the suits, and I understand, but if you can get the suits to look that well, but you need a shot from the perspective of a puppet, then just make a spare head or something. Stop using these ugly, horrible-looking puppets. I hate the puppet from the original. I hate the puppet from 55, and I hate the puppet when Godzilla's fighting Mothra's legs in this movie. I hate it. Oh, I hate it so much. Especially because this Godzilla
like they have it on a stick or something, like a Sesame Street, and they're just moving it up and down.
It is Sesame Street Godzilla, basically. Because I love this suit's face, the big bushy eyebrows, the eyes. I would go as far as saying this is probably the most personable Godzilla design we've seen so far. He's got a little bit of emotion and a bit of character.
Right.
I like the scene where like Mothra's like flying towards him, and then it zooms in on his glare.
Yeah.
So, okay, real quick, I have one thing, last thing or I have an idea of something we can start on this podcast after we review each movie. But first, I want to make sure, Tyler, do you have anything final you want to say on this? That just because you said a little bit, but I don't know if you got cut off or not.
To me, this is one of the essential Godzilla films to watch, like at least once.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's my pitch. So as we go through each film, we've now gotten to 4 films. So I think what we can do is we've kind of been subtly doing this, but we haven't made it official. This is an interesting way because I think we all made our own personal lists, which we haven't like put up anywhere for anyone else to see. But we made our own personal list on like our favorite Godzilla films in order. But now that we're watching them through, it would be interesting is if we rank them as we go. So like right now in this episode, we'll end this episode by ranking our top 4 Godzilla films that we've seen so far. Obviously referring to the 4 that we've just watched, and then each episode will add it into the list and see how our list ends up by the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though it's gonna be.
So I'll go ahead.
It's gonna be hell to do like later on.
Yeah, it's gonna be. That's what I said. After a couple more, we're definitely gonna be wanting to write these down somewhere. For me, right now, at the top of my head, I can guarantee it's gonna be pretty clear. Number 1 is gonna be 1954, right, the original film. Number 2 will be Mothra versus Godzilla. Number 3 would be King Kong versus Godzilla, and number 4 would be Godzilla Raids Again.
Yeah.
Actually, here's how it started. Do any of y'all disagree with that order right now?
No,
me personally, I would, just because the way I'm going to rank them is by not objective quality. I'm going to rank them by my personal enjoyment, which takes account quality and the fun of the film and everything. So my order would be Raids Again, Raids Again, Raids Again, and Raids Again.
And number 1, Gigantus, the fire monster, of course.
But no, I mean, mine would probably be the exact same as yours, except I would swap Mothra vs. Godzilla for the original. Just me personally, because Godzilla fighting is essential to the character for me now, personally. And I could go and I could watch Mothra vs. Godzilla multiple times in a row. I would not like to do the same with the original, if that makes sense. And I know it's kind of heresy to say, but
I fully understand that. It's not heresy to say. I think now, if we were talking about objective quality, that would be a really hard sell for me. But obviously, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about favorite films.
Right. Objectively, your list would be perfect objectively.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, well, honestly, my list, you say that it works objectively, but also that's kind of how I feel at this point. Like, so far in the films, I think that, like, Mothra vs. Godzilla was a really good film and actually had some fight scenes. But I remember I never really got bored watching the original, as much as it's not a very rewatchable film. I'll grant you, every film besides Raids Again that we've watched so far would probably be more rewatchable than it. Like, if we were so let's say, here's what I'll say. If we're talking about just pure enjoyment and, like, rewatchability and the monster fights, King Kong vs. Godzilla would definitely be number 1 for me out of what we've watched so far. I could watch that movie over and over. But if it, as weird as it sounds, I don't, even though, like, that being said, I wouldn't necessarily say I like the film more than the other 2. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just how I feel. That's
now that you say that, I kind of feel like I could swap King Kong vs. Godzilla and the original as well. See, I don't know. This is going to be tricky. I can't...
I'm leaving the podcast.
Okay, I'll leave it here for now. Obviously the positioning of everything is going to change. I'll say Mothra vs. Godzilla, King Kong vs. Godzilla, the original, Raids Again. And I'm going to give a tiny spoiler alert. Do not expect the original film to stay in the top 10. I'm saying it now. I'm sorry.
Ooh. Oh, God. I already seen them coming with pitchforks. Head for the hills.
Yeah, I mean, especially once we get to like Godzilla 1985, Will has to put that at number 1. So,
And other jokes you can tell yourself.
my favorite films go. Will's favorite films go Godzilla 1985, Godzilla's Revenge, and I don't know. I don't know what other films you would hate. So this isn't gonna.
I don't hate
I'm
Godzilla's Revenge though.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, that makes sense. You're that's like the one opinion you have that's objectively incorrect. But
honestly, I will go ahead and say now, by the end of this, I will probably have the most controversial list.
Which is good. It's good for views. But by the end of this podcast, it's like this is going to be by the end of this podcast. Like we're not going to talk to each other anymore. Like,
I'm going to get canceled.
Like it's not even like most people get canceled because they say something controversial. Like they come out as they're like racist or something. No, Will just like he likes Godzilla's Revenge and thinks it's like a pretty okay film. And they're like the Godzilla community is like destroy him, tear him down. Okay, Tyler, what about you? What's your list of the 4 films?
Pretty much the same. 1954 versus Mothra versus King Kong Raids Again.
Okay. So, Will, we are 2-1. You're wrong. You are kicked out of the podcast. it's like the island. You're kicked off the island. Get out of here.
Sent off to the dock of shame.
You can go to Faroe Island with all those crazy people. We'll stay on. I guess Monster Island hasn't been invented yet. I guess we'll stay on Infant Island with the skeleton sea turtle.
Hey, I gotta go enjoy some of that berry juice, so I'll see you guys later.
Nice berry juice. Will's gonna be sleeping good tonight.
Get the berry juice, get some nice beats going.
They got
the Islanders on their drums.
Yeah, I actually think you won out on this one. They got some nice beats.
Yeah, I know, and like Infinite Calamari.
I'm sorry.
My ears are bleeding, man. Thank you.
Well, obviously, the company's going to be great because, Kong has a renowned taste in women, so he's only going to be keeping the finest around.
Wow, wow.
Dude, I mean, in Monster Island Buddies, he is the Final Fantasy VII girl.
He is freaking.
To be fair, if you look in Monster Island Buddies, it starts with Godzilla or a Gamera having him, and then Godzilla gets them, and then you see them again with Kong. So it's just like whoever's popular at the time gets those two. Next podcast, we're just going to cover Monster Island Buddies in its entirety. But actually, I think I had told y'all guys, I do have an idea for a project in the works that would be related to Monster Island Buddies. And I have to start working on it, so let's not put anything out there too much. I don't want to make promises. I mean, not like I've ever promised a video that hasn't came out yet or anything.
Hey, don't worry, you're not as bad as me as making entire video post announcing a project and then never touching it ever again. I've only got 15 of those on my channel.
I have a bunch of those too, but the difference is I privated all of them.
I did not.
That never happened.
Yeah, you're just like...
The past doesn't exist. I'm in control of my life.
That's why you're going to get canceled, because they're like, remember when he said he was going to make this movie?
He lied.
Well, guess what? And they're doing, well, he didn't make that. He did. Do you see it on his channel? I don't. No, but, yeah, will I make a Godzilla King of the Monsters retrospective? I don't know. Maybe sometime. Maybe when the next Monsterverse film gets announced. But, I'm kidding. I do need to get on that. That's something I would like to do. But, in the topic of retrospectives, I've been rewatching Monster Island Buddies, and we'll just leave it at I might have legitimately cried at one of the episodes that I hadn't seen yet, because I was behind. I had seen up to episode 90 back, and then I had stopped watching. So I started from the beginning, rewatched the whole thing, and I got to the ending of Destroy All Godzillas, and I'm not sure if y'all have seen that, but it was such a weird moment that really got, like, it was surprising that, this guy playing with his toys, and legitimately, I just realized that, and I'm going to save some of it for the video, but I'm just going to end it, that I realized I owe a lot more of my Godzilla fandom to Monster Island Buddies than I realized. In that one moment, it kind of hit me. Speaking, just a sec, have y'all seen Destroy All Godzillas?
No, I'm full.
I'm trying to remember
I got to part
what
2,
the
then I
last
kinda forgot
MIB
about
I
it.
saw was.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
I'm looking up his channel real fast to see, because maybe it'll show me where I last left off.
I certainly
It's definitely been a minute
recommend-
since I saw a new Monster Island Buddies.
Yeah. I certainly
go.
recommend, since the episodes are like 2 minutes long on average, except for the more recent ones, there is almost no downside to going and rewatching it from the beginning. And surprisingly, it holds up a lot more than I thought, is what I'll say. But again, I'm gonna make a video, and I think what I'm gonna do is I might break them down into seasons, which would make it pretty, break it down, make it easier, and then go over a little bit of the lore. And mostly it's just gonna be my thoughts, because like I'm not gonna try to break it down or analyze it necessarily, just because there's actually a little series. Another way y'all could recap it, by the way, is he has a series on his thing called Monster Island Secrets, where he just goes through the episodes and talks about the filming of them and what he did, and that's really interesting too. And it'll kind of like recap you on what episodes came out. And so like if you want to watch that, it goes all the way up to episode 100 before, because once he hits episode 100, he goes to his his modern episodes, which he's made about 29 since then. This last one came out last week, and I just watched it yesterday, and it was very trippy. That's what I'll tell you. It was he actually, because now he's playing with green screen and actual sets and stuff, and it's just really interesting to see that. And I know some people might not like that, because they're like, that's a charm taken away, but I think it's great that he's, it's still Monster Island Buddies, I'll tell you that. It's not like it's a different thing. It's just that he's actually like, and there's still shots where they're just sitting there in front of, like, the mailbag, they're sitting in front of the computer or whatever, but either way.
Okay, how would you describe Monster Island Buddies to somebody who has no clue what Monster Island Buddies is?
So, I have tried, and it does not work, because I like, if I was to be brutally honest, it's a guy playing with his toys but making a story out of them. Oh, and playing with his Godzilla toys, but like
I would say
I
my
tried
pitch
to
would
explain
be
it. It didn't work.
Monster Island Buddies is Toy Story featuring Godzilla figures meets Deadpool.
I remember I once explained it as like it's kind of like Dragon Ball Z abridged, except there's no footage.
It's all
Like,
original footage, brand new.
It's an adult series that is.
Here we
off
go.
the property.
Not that this would help somebody who's already not aware of Monster Island Buddies, but you could go as far as saying Monster Island Buddies is the R-rated version of. Oh my gosh! I just spaced on the name of it. What was the show that Toho did with the toys
Godzilla
with
Island.
Firejet Jaguar? Godzilla Island. It's a mature version of Godzilla Island.
Monster Island Buddies is the quintessential Godzilla fan experience.
Bold claim.
It is. Hey, to be fair, you know what? Monster Island Buddies is my favorite Godzilla series. And then who knows? Maybe Singular Point will beat it. But I mean, like, as silly as it sounds, even if Singular Point's great, I'm not even sure if it will beat it, just because of how much it's a different type of series for sure. It's kind of like how like something like Sword Art Online Abridged is like a really great series that I like better than most shows, but I don't want to call it like I don't want to put it in my like top 5 shows, because obviously it's like a little bit of a different thing. Does that make sense? Tyler, have you watched that?
What? Sorry.
Have you watched Sword Art Online Abridged?
No, not really.
Even if you don't like Sword Art Online, or even if you haven't seen Sword Art Online, which I saw the first few episodes, it's a good It's a good watch. It's legitimately, like, you don't even need to know what's going on in the show for it to be a good show. And it's actually... Will actually watched Sword Art Online and enjoyed it, so I was trying to get him to watch it too, because I do think you would like it, Will, even...
Yeah, I need to watch it at some point. I'm working my way through Dragon Ball Z Abridged now that I've actually watched all of Dragon Ball and all of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Either way, that's enough talking. No one cares. It's time to end the podcast. That being said, thank y'all, so many of you, for watching the last episode. I know a big part of it was Methyl Kaiju linked it on to his channel. However, if a portion of y'all are sticking by or watching this, here's how I want to know if you watch this. Leave questions in the comments or things you'd like us to bring up. Because, I mean, we don't have a lot of comments, so if you comment something, we'll probably for sure bring it up. Which, actually, speaking of, that makes me kind of want to go through and look at the few comments we do have. That's how I'm going to wrap this up. So, real quick, we're going to jump to, I remember the first, it's gone. It's gone.
I'll look at my uploads too to see if I've got any comments on any of them.
The one you showed me, I think we probably will stay away from discussing. Okay, so go all the way back on the first episode. No, never mind. I guess I would no comment. The only comments I have are on this most recent episode. We got one from Josh Knoppel, who said, like the podcast, which was nice. I enjoyed that. And then here's my favorite comment from Manuel Rodriguez, who said, Godzilla. Which I hearted, of course, and I replied, yes, thanks, Manuel. Very cool.
Yeah, let's see. On episode 1, I've got a comment from some weirdo quoting another YouTuber, but...
Huh.
Do you get that, Chris?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
about.
Yeah.
And then on the second one, we've actually got nice retrospective on the second G film from John H. Shelton, who is he's actually the creator and the admin of the Godzilla UK fans page on Facebook.
Whoa, we got big people watching. Remember, we're making it big. We had Methyl Kaiju on last time. Don't sleep on Methyl Kaiju. Don't sleep on, what's his name? John H.
Shelton.
John H. Shelton. Yes, everyone knows the name John H. Shelton, and no one would ever forget what his name is. That's a household name. John H. Shelton just unsubscribed.
I want to know when we're getting Manuel on the podcast.
Yeah, Manuel Rodriguez, if you're listening, you know what? Remind me, we got to open the next podcast with it in case, he just misses this for some reason. I mean, clearly he's watching the full episodes, but just in case, he missed it, we need to put out a, maybe when I upload this, for the first day, it'll just say, Manuel Rodriguez, do you want to join the podcast? And that's, the title of this video. But no, we need to, legitimately, if Manuel Rodriguez contacts me and says, hey, I want to be on, I would throw him on. Now, what I'd say is I have an idea. Actually, I'll get to you later after the podcast. We don't want to air all our dirty laundry here.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up. This has been the Brozilla Podcast, episode 5. And, yeah, so, next time we'll see you in the year of 1960. Wait, it's already 1964. Man.
Yeah, we're sticking in the same year.
We're stuck in Groundhog Day.
Give us about 6 months when Toho moves on to the introduction of the arch nemesis of Godzilla,
Batman. Oh wait.
The Orochimaru, the 3-headed monster.